Lila here. I am super excited for today's video. What I'm going to be doing today is going through these. Don't know which side this is actually going to be on. I think this side. Going through this side, all of these logo designs that people submitted to me that they wanted review and critique on. I'm actually going to go in and redesign them how I would design them. So I'm really excited. It was super duper fun. These logos, I'm speeding it up so this is not going to be a super long video, but all of them together took me about an hour and a half. So it's not a lot of time investment, but it has been a lot of practice to get to the point where I know what changes I need to see. So I'll kind of explain things as I go, why I made the choices I did, and we'll dive in. If you have questions or you want to submit your own, you can submit them below at the email address. If you're interested in having your logo designed by me, I'm accepting clients right now, so I would love to work with you. You can either email me or submit a form on my website below, and we'll get you started. I've been designing for about 8, 9, 10 years, something like that. I've lost track. I love design. I love art. I love the concept of design theory and how things actually work and how we obtain information through the art of design. My background is fine art, so I learned lettering and color shading and all of those different techniques, and I love incorporating artistic things into my logos. You'll see that a bit in today's video. So let's dive in. So first I'm gonna go with this Alan May Bose logo, and I really like this one. I feel like this one has a good feel. It just felt a little bit unbalanced to me, and so what I did is I pulled each piece apart and then I went in to the lettering, because oftentimes when we use fonts for lettering, they can be either too repetitive or they can be incorrect in some ways and be a little bit illegible. And so I like to go in, and even if I'm going to use a font for a logo, I will go in and customize it and make sure that it actually like functions as I want it to and is readable when I zoom out. You'll see in the very beginning when I zoomed out, you couldn't really read what it said. It might have said Alan with an A, might have said Allie, like it's kind of a little bit hard to read. And so I went in, opened up the negative space between the letters. You'll see in there as I'm like messing with those L's. I just opened them up. I also went through and thinned all of the thinner lines. So if you know anything about hand lettering, you know that upstrokes are thin and downstrokes are thick. And so I went in and made that rule a little bit more different. And so you can see it's not just this something you might hand write that doesn't have a lot of depth. I gave it that contrast between the really thin downstrokes, or really thin upstrokes, really thick downstrokes. And I'm just kind of going in here and cleaning things up. Oftentimes when you use fonts, they do get messy, and your corners will get jagged, or your corners will get kind of see how this A here is just just kind of blends together. That's just the sign of a low quality font. And so you can always start with a font and then go in and actually edit these things out. And you'll see I kind of arranged it. I was trying to figure out how I wanted to arrange it. And I tried to maybe put the bow on the lettering, and that didn't work for me. I'm really a fan of icon design, and so if you can build a primary logo that's all of these things and then you can break out into little pieces, I love that. So I wanted the bow to feel a little bit more like its own piece. I also went in here, you'll see, and picked a simpler, more modern font, but I also put it in all caps. Normally you want balance across the board, and made that icon really stand out as its own, but then also adjusted the lettering so that it was very balanced across the board. Now for this Fanny Lucia logo, I really love this type, and I'm pretty sure this is a font. It might be hand lettered. If it is, it's pretty lazily hand lettered, and so I wanted to go in and open things up a little bit. You can see I messed with those dots a little bit. I made the eyes were connected, and I didn't like that at all, so I changed that. I also did a similar thing like I did with the bow logo, where I accentuated the thick downstrokes with the thin upstrokes, because that gives it a little bit more class. And it's important when you're dealing with script fonts to make them have their own character and make the letters flow between one another. You'll notice I kind of spaced these things out, but I also gave, even the two L's that are different, I gave them different personalities. I gave them different things that, made it look like it was actually hand lettered and handcrafted, because that can make a huge difference. I also went in and separated, gave the the U and the L between there a little bit more space. You'll see I'll pull it over in just a second. I went in and tried to kind of mess with the loop below, and I didn't like how it was turning out, so you'll see in a little bit how I adjusted that. I didn't like the spacing between the I and the E, so I actually extended that a little bit. That is called kerning, if you're curious. It's the space between letters, and that's really, really tricky to do when you don't have the right font software. And so this is likely a font that was made on a cheaper software that just didn't have the like ability to create kerning per letters, kind of those pairs. That's actually all programmed into the font, which is super interesting. I ended up losing those little circles because I didn't like them on the edge of the things, and then I kind of adjusted, and I actually offset Fanny and Lucille. So here you'll see where I go in and I just kind of increase the girth and width of that curl because I want it to really stand out. I want to give it a little bit of a unique pull. And that helps your eye go back around as well. It's not as squished, doesn't feel like you're as contained, and that gives it a really nice, fresh look. Something with logo design is you want the feel to be fluid, but you want it to actually convey the message that you want it to. And for this font, I felt like it needed to be just a little bit more open and flowy because the font kind of has that feel already. And then you'll see as I bring up even the loop on the big L because I wanted to squeeze the E between there, and I really liked how that came out. So that one was really, really fun. Now, Mandalay, this one, I like the idea of this logo, but the balance was all off for me. And so I ended up trying a couple different things, trying to use that L, because I really, really liked that L. But L's are hard because they aren't balanced. And when it comes to logo design, like that is really of the utmost. If you want to have a professional logo, you want to have it balanced. And so I ended up playing with this hexagon a little bit. I know the lady who runs this business, and so I know a little bit about her personality. I know she loves geometrics. And so I went in and tried to play with some of these triangles. Ended up tossing all of this that I made. I did keep the hexagon. So you'll see I'm kind of playing with it, kind of seeing how the lines of that hexagon interact with the L. I went in and kind of tried to give that L a little bit more of a border, but I just wasn't happy with how that turned out. You can see it's just feels a little bit haphazard and not on purpose, and you want your logos to feel on purpose. So what I did was I played with the outline of the hexagon, turned it on an angle, tried the L, and then I realized the L is not really important to that logo. We want it to be an M, and so I put an M in there. And I really liked how that one came out. Super simple, super modern, not complicated to create. Now for Right Venture Services, this one I played with a lot. I started with the S, and I knew it was Right Venture Services, but I wanted to kind of keep that flowy feel that they have in there, and then I ended up just scrapping this whole thing. So you can see where I'm kind of playing around with the opacity of that. I play around with a couple different S's. Sometimes logo design is such a process that you start with something that you just have an idea for, and then you just like keep playing with it until it's what you want it to be, and sometimes that can totally change. I did want to keep the rounded triangle in there. I liked that a lot. Try to add a border. It's kind of like a favorite of mine is to add that outline offset a little bit. And then I realized that I wanted to have all three letters in there. And as I was playing with this, I was like, oh, this looks like Washington Street Journal, or what is it? I think it's Washington Street Journal logo, which I really like that logo. But I can't just copy them. So I was playing around with how the letters interact, and then as I was thinking about it, I realized they don't need to have services in their icon. They're Right Ventures, and so I ended up dropping that S even after playing with it for a little bit and realizing it just adds too much clutter to that. Tried to create my own little S to, simplify the look, and I just didn't like how that was turning out. So I ended up just scrapping that S altogether and putting it in a circle shape, which I ended up really liking, and gave it more of a modern geometric feel, which as you can tell, it's kind of a preference of mine. And so you'll see I kind of added those in and then tried a couple different colors. I didn't like that bright red, so I ended up toning it down a little bit. But yeah, I really liked how these all came out, and it's the little tweaks. I think that's something that people don't realize about design. It's not that I have these wonderful ideas that I just go do and have done and then it's great, and I never tweak or pivot or anything, but it's so much pivoting. And so for Coco, this one was fun, and this is a really good example of how much I pivoted. I started with some hand lettering that I just did I just use the trackpad on my laptop. People ask me if I use a Cintiq or a Wacom, and I just don't. I just prefer to use the trackpad. So I did some hand lettering, played with the ampersand a little bit. There's this new technique I've been wanting to play with in illustration, where you illustrate on the computer without paints and brushes and the things that I normally start with. And so I ended up going that route, and I really, really like the feel of these letters, but it didn't really fit with the brand. It's actually a health brand, which I'm not a huge fan of the name either, because it doesn't really explain to me what it is. But it's like health and wellness type stuff. And then I realized like she is in the West, and so I was like, okay, I really want to play with illustrating style, so let's try to do like mountains. Let's give it kind of this like mountain feel. Like what else is going on with mountains? And so I started playing with gradients. I liked the oval shape, but that doesn't really work icon-wise, and so I ended up actually going down to a circle. I found a photo on unsplash.com, which is a great resource for free, royalty-free, and cost-free photography. And then I used it as a template to go in and adjust. So you'll see I'm kind of shaping around the mountain, and this is in layers, which is similar to Photoshop if you ever used Photoshop. But Illustrator is a little bit nicer, in my opinion, to like the quality of the work. It's all in vectors instead of pixels, and so you don't really ever ruin anything, which is nice. So I added just a few shapes to kind of get the feel of the mountain, and I really love the feel of this one. I think that it's calming, but also really like adventurous, and I thought that was a good feel for that brand. So I tried to incorporate that lettering that I did in white over that, and that wasn't really working. So I ended up pulling it down, making it a little bit more modern with a modern font that has rounded edges, which I'm super into right now for some reason. And I played with that a little bit, and then realized that I really just like the mountain on its own. And so I ended up just putting the words below it, messing with the white a little bit in the thing, but I didn't end up actually leaving that there because I really liked how simple it was. So that is like a really tiny sneak peek into my process. I really love the idea of taking an idea and taking dreams and our desires and our feelings and our style and all these things that are kind of unseen and turning them into something that is seen. And we can see it and be like, oh my gosh, that is totally me, or that's totally you, or I totally resonate with that brand. And it's really a magical thing to watch. So I hope you enjoyed this. If you're interested in submitting your own logo for my review and critique, you can submit it to the email address below. If you are watching this and one of those logos was yours, hit me up. I will send you the file, and we can totally, like, I can give you access to that. So let me know, and I hope you enjoyed this. I'm gonna be doing these again, so keep sending me those critiques, and we'll see you next time.